Lynn Sloneker is in the house.
Good morning.
So that must be Tuesday.
Yeah.
She's going to do some education. What's up?
Yeah, well, this is the season, It's pretty busy out there. A lot of school board races. We don't have infinite amount of time here, so I thought I'd go over a couple of the bigger ones this morning, and we'll have more next week to remind everyone the annual budget vote and board election statewide is on Tuesday, May 21st. Depending on where you live, polls could be open from noon to 9 or from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. So we will, closer to time, I'm pretty sure we will
we'll have that.
Have a rundown of poll locations and times for everybody. But the date is May 21st, a little later than usual. I think a lot of people are kind of thrown off by that because it's often, I think last year it was, the 16th?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's off by a week. I think it has to do with how the month falls. Tuesdays, how Tuesdays
I'm
fall.
lost without my Google Calendar.
I know, and I have to say, for all the listeners, everyone needs to know that Phil is a Google Calendar user now.
That's right.
The staff gets notes from Phil via Google Calendar to confirm some event.
I now almost remember everything.
No, it's pretty good. We all raised our eyebrows. We said, ooh, Phil's using Google Calendar.
But you know what the problem with Google Calendar is? You have to read it.
Yeah, that's the hitch.
Yeah, that's the hitch.
Yeah.
That's on my calendar. I didn't look at it.
But as for school board races, we've talked a good bit in the past few weeks about Caro Durham and the issues that are happening, or that have been raised over there. They have an interesting board race. They have 5 candidates for it's 2 open spots. They are 3-year terms. 2 of their incumbents are running for re-election. One is their board president, Greg Kerner Fox. He has actually been on the board for 6 years, and he's been president for 3. He and Beatrice Clappin, she's been a 4-year member of the board, and she lives in Durham. But they've been part of this board now for up to 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
They are the people who hired their current superintendent, Mary Fassett. They also hired a new business manager during the time they've been on the board. But the thing that they're probably best known for at this point is the great realignment plan.
That's right. The big realignment caboodle.
And a lot of what's driven people to get involved, to attend board meetings, and in the case of the 3 people who are running against them for these 2 seats, there is a concern about the transparency or lack thereof on the board and its decision-making on that realignment plan. And it was named specifically by all 3 candidates when they were interviewed about their motivation to run. The 3 candidates are Dennis Burke, Peter Byrne, and Gary Warner. Burke is a Caro resident. He has 2 young children, one in kindergarten and one in pre-K, about to enter the system. He has been driven to attend the BOE meetings because he's interested in what's going on, and he talks about the realignment plan as a motivation. Gary Warner is a senior investigator with the Department of Corrections. He lives in Round Top. He actually has 3 kids in the district, and they span the age ranges from kindergarten, 2nd, and then 9th grade. So he has a sample of what goes on throughout the district at this point. And he talks specifically about transparency. He wants transparency back on the board. And the final candidate is Peter Byrne. He is actually a professor of psychology and statistics, and he's got a focus on educational research. He also has young children, one in kindergarten, one in 2nd grade, and he discusses transparency, and he also wants to talk about improved educational standards. He lives in Cornwallville. So all these people, and I always find it interesting because you see people are motivated to get involved in the Board of Ed for various reasons, and so often it's about their own children. And you see at least, well, all three of these new candidates, they have young children,
Right.
either in the district or about to enter the district. And they're very concerned about what's going on over there. People should be reminded that we are broadcasting live a candidate forum. That is next Wednesday, May 15th.
And that is going to be great.
Yeah, in this election, 6:30 to 8 p.m. It's a 90-minute moderated forum. It will be broadcast live from the Caro Library. And there is some discussion about a second forum for that same group of candidates, perhaps up in the Durham area. So I don't know where things stand on the organization of that forum, but if anyone knows the details about that, they should give us a call, let us know.
Because Cairo Durham is basically where the action is for this season's elections.
Yeah, Cairo Durham is this year's Germantown.
Yeah.
Germantown was where all the action was, but of course a lot of that was around the budget.
Right.
And people, it was the first year of the tax cap.
Yeah, so we always have the year of the year before that I think it was the year of Hudson.
Yeah,
and with the turmoil over the vote that wasn't a vote.
Yeah, well, the vote that then they just ignored.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, democracy in action.
So, which town will step up for next year?
Yeah, so Cairo Durham is the place to watch.
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of Hudson, they actually, because they're a small city district, their deadline for petitions was later. It was last week, May 1st, and 5 people have come forward to indicate their interest. They're pursuing 2 open seats. One is a 5-year term, and one is a 2-year term. That's actually the completion of now former President Peter Moranti, who resigned effective April 23rd. So there are 2 years left on his term. So the way this will work is that when the votes are all tallied and it's all finished, the top vote getter will receive the 5-year seat, and the runner-up will get the 2-year seat. There are people who jokingly say it should be the other way around. You should be rewarded by fewer number or a lesser term, but the candidates in Hudson, Jacqueline Rose Bruntfield, she is a resident of Hudson's 5th Ward. She is a former journalist, and she's involved with the district's reading mentor program. Joe Carr, who is also a Hudson resident. He's out in the 4th Ward. He's retired from the school district. He was a custodian there and just retired in 2010. He's talked about running before, but this is the first time he's actually followed through and gotten on the ballot. But he's a school insider from a couple of years back. A parent in Greenport, Scott DeMonda, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He's a parent of a high school student. He's retired corrections officer. He's a general manager for one of those mixed martial arts venues, and he also edits an online gaming magazine. He's somebody who, when he talked to the Register Star, he spoke about the long-term suspension of Tom Gavin. And the cost of that whole process on the district. Yeah. So, and Lynn Lee, who is a longtime science teacher at the high school, she's retiring this year. She's from Greenport, and she's put her name in. And the incumbent, Tiffany Martin Hamilton, she lives on Upper Warren Street in Hudson. She's going to run again. So those are the 5 people in Hudson.
And there are 5 vying for how many?
2 seats.
Ooh.
One is a 5-year term, and the other is a 2-year term.
Oh, that's exciting. It
is exciting. Very exciting. Yeah, actually, I think it was Mr. DeMonda when he spoke to the press. He said that he's the first person I've heard indicate that he thinks there's a possibility the Hudson budget could be voted down.
Ah.
So that's the first. That was kind of interesting.
Well, our mystery, you know, what is it? The 500-pound gorilla in the room is it's bound to really start showing up sometime.
Well,
when they start talking about budgets.
Well, it's true. It's true. Yeah, I think we talked about that last week.
Yeah.
You know, how can you lament having to let people go
Right.
when you're
Right.
keeping somebody at home? Yeah, I know. And the other one, I don't have a lot of details, but the Ichabod Crane race out there, they have actually 4 candidates for 3 seats. 2 incumbents are running again, including those 2 incumbents are their board president, Anthony Welcome, and their VP, Regina Rose. 2 new people are Kyle Aschenbrenner and Tricia Gerkman. Voters out there, I think we've talked about this. They adopted their budget early on in the process, but just to remind people, their budget for 2013-14 is close to $35 million. It's actually 34.9, and that requires a 2.9% tax levy increase. And one of the things that's happening out there is that they are preparing to enter into a strategic planning process, and they only recently cut off the deadline, or they had a deadline for nominations for that committee, but that should be interesting to watch. I'm unaware of any other district around here that's undertaken that kind of task in such a very specific way and openly recruited people from the community to take part. So that will be an ongoing item of interest, for me at least. So people should know that there is a candidate forum out there. It is on May 14th. That's Tuesday, following their budget hearing. They'll have their budget hearing and then immediately have a candidate forum. So anyone interested should probably go to the district website or give the district a call.
Yeah, and these candidate forums are very important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not sure how they're going to organize this. Whether this will be a similar, the forum in Carroll-Durham has it been organized and will be moderated by the League of Women Voters. That's the kind of process where, excuse me, each of the candidates will offer an introductory statement about themselves, their interest in running, and then all the questions come from the audience.
Ah, okay.
And then they have a closing. It's very it's an open forum for people to come and submit their questions, it works. It works. It's not the kind of thing where people are.
I recall attending one at Catskill High School that was put on by their. I guess they have a news club or. And it was excellent. Those kids did a bang-up job.
That was last year, wasn't it?
It was last year, was it? It was very well organized. I don't know if they're doing it this year also.
Yeah.
But they did a bang-up job, those kids over there.
Yeah, I think it's great, and this is one of those opportunities for a true transparency to ask people to stand up and express their opinions, but also beyond opinion to be proactive about their ideas.
Right.
And there's little of that right now. I think people it's difficult to do this, but you have to be able to stand up and say what you believe in.
Well, I noticed that that word transparency seems to be sticking in everybody's craw from the town elections that we had a few weeks ago.
That's right.
Transparency was one of the things that came up, and now this. Obviously, the citizenry is moving in the direction of we want to know what's going on. Don't make the decision and come out and tell us.
Well, yeah, that's it. And it is a skillful dance that when you're elected to public office that you're engaged in, because transparency when you're on the community side looks very different when you're on the governing side.
Right.
And some of it, and it runs the gamut. It runs the gamut from just sort of carelessness and people who really don't understand what they need to do as a governing official, to being afraid opening Pandora's box kind of thing. So it's a learning experience, and you see institutions kind of take over and control people who are all about transparency. Then they're at the other side of the table, and they get very quiet.
As we've learned from our congressional representatives, not everything can be done by committee, or otherwise nothing gets done.
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah.
Just keep representing yourself.
Yeah. Well, who is? There's somebody who says, the way to kill something, an idea, is to form a committee or a task force.
Right, form a task force or a committee and just
dead.
Sit there and watch it rot on the vine.
Yeah, exactly. So, good thoughts go out to everybody. And I think, anyone who knows a candidate for school board, or knows someone who serves on a school board, should take a minute and express their gratitude, because it is a thankless task.
It is.
It is a lot of work for no pay, no benefits. It's in addition to whatever your day job might be.
And that's what I admire so much about it, no matter who's running.
Exactly.
You go to work, you come home, you take Johnny to the soccer game and Susan,
right.
And then you go in and do this job, which you're doing for the entire community.
Right.
So no matter who's running, these are people who are sticking their neck out for the community. They need their props.
Well, that's right, and it's easy to sort of get caught up in either extreme negativity or extreme positiveness or obliviousness to reality, and it takes a disciplined person to weigh all factors and to be fair. And I think for the most part, it's one of those pieces of American democracy, which is, it's really pretty amazing that it works as well as it does.
And as we remind you, until you're all sick of hearing it, even if you're an old goat like me with no children, in the school board election has a direct effect on you. So it's not something that you should ignore simply because, I don't have any kids in school, so I don't worry about it. That's not the way it works.
Right,
so,
exactly.
That's your money, too. So get involved.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, well, I think that...
I'll send Lynn over to your house.
Well, yeah, and I the way to start is to... all school districts now have websites of varying levels of information. Go to your school website, see what information they offer, and attend a board meeting. See how it works.
Yay!
So, I think that's about all for today.
All right, that's
more to come.
That's the education front from Lynn Sloneker herself, bringing us up to date. We as the election grows closer, and you're right. I was just looking at my calendar, my Google calendar. It is late in the month. It's the 20th something.
21st.
So. There's plenty of time for you to get yourself, I guess you don't have to know everything about everything, but find out what's going on and get out there and vote on the 21st.
Yeah, that just made me think of something here, Phil. I just wanted to add. Next week, I will run down with each of the districts what people will actually be voting on, because for the most part, I believe most elections are school board candidates and budget, but in some cases there will be separate resolutions for things. It escapes me right now, but somebody's voting on buying school buses. Hudson was going to have the sale of Claverick School, but now they're not going to because that's been delayed.
Okay, so all kinds of juicy stuff.
Yeah, so find out what's on your ballot.
or we'll find out for you.
Or we find out for you.
All right. Thank you, Lynn Sloneker. You're listening.